The band for bringing that song to life for us today and sharing that amazing story as well. So many songs like Coming Out of the Dark speak to this journey, the journey of life, that ebb and flow of going through times in our life that we embrace the stillness and the healing opportunity of the dark, and then emerge again into the energy and aliveness of the light. And knowing that this is the ongoing nature of life, these cycles, this ebb and flow. For we are always growing and expanding. And there will be times where we are pushed to the limits of our growing edge, but where we find if we surrender and embrace those times as opportunities, we will again emerge and know ourselves even greater. Yet, as the theme this month, Light in the Shadows, invites us to look at, there are ways that, especially in our particular culture and society, we have made dark and darkness bad and light good, right? There's this kind of oversimplification and this tendency to just want to say good, bad, as opposed to embracing this flow and this cycle of life and knowing that there is something to glean from all of those cycles of life. And when we can start to believe that darkness is bad, what it does is it creates us not wanting to then embrace the dark, and to only want to experience the good and the light and the bliss and the joy, which can lead to what we know as spiritual bypassing, right? Like not giving ourselves the opportunity to actually feel our feelings and to go deep into that creative womb of the darkness to experience the healing. And there can be a tendency to just go to seeing the good and just looking at the light. But it's not a full-bodied experience if we don't allow ourselves to dive deep into the opportunity that the darkness provides. So as we kicked off last month's series, we talked about that there are gifts to be gleaned from diving deeper into the value of darkness and light, and how they work together. We talked a little bit about this yin and yang, right? This Chinese medicine principle of the balance of all. And, you know, when we have this tendency to kind of think of it in the binary, good, bad, black, white, you know, right and wrong thinking, that it takes a little bit of courage to break through that thinking and to go beyond this kind of general status quo conversation of good and bad and to go a little bit deeper. So today we're going to look a little bit about how we have been enculturated that darkness is bad and light is good. And what are the opportunities for us as we break through that culture, indoctrinated, whatever you want to say, ideas, and perhaps open to new possibilities. So I found this very interesting, that in the Webster's Dictionary, the first definition of dark is the absence of light. And then the second definition is evil. What? No wonder, right? And there are so many examples of other, like, you know, figures of speeches and metaphors that we have in this culture particularly that portrays this idea of good, bad, right, wrong. For example, we may say, you know, in the dark, If someone's in the dark, that means they don't know something. And then if you were to shed light on something, you help someone understand it. Or you may say if someone's shady or something's shady, it means they're not to be trusted. Another example is, when we describe someone as, as being doing something well, we may say they're a shining example, or, oh, they're just a ray of light or a ray of sunshine. Again, depicting light as good and dark as bad. We talk about the dark times in our life or the dark time in history as those times of perhaps, great struggle and challenges and war. And, this may just seem like, well, this is just harmless figures of speech that we have. But there are implications, especially in the United States, a country where racism is so embedded in the fabric of our society and in all of our systems, that it's important to at least pay attention and to notice, get a little bit curious about some of these figures of speeches, and to see how, if we are willing to change or at least notice the history of some of these phrases, perhaps that could be a way that we can help to unravel some of these racist roots and threads in our society. Because what do we talk about all the time? Language, our words, they have energy, they have power. We use our words as in our creative imagination to create and manifest that which we desire. So our words have an impact. And we choose mindfully what we may say about ourselves and to others. But I don't feel like as a culture we've really unpacked this yet. And I'm grateful to see that there's starting to be more conversation and books and blogs around this idea. I remember a friend of mine a few years back, she shared an experience with me where she had this aha moment regarding the racist implications of the oversimplification of dark and black being bad. She was doing like kind of a expressive arts kind of therapy experience with some young children as a guest in a classroom. And she, as a white woman, went to assist a young black boy who was needing some help, and she was talking to him a bit. It was like, okay, so now I want you to draw and think of what is a color that would, kind of depict that negative feeling or, that you want to express. And she's like, maybe black. And then she realized in that moment, looking at this precious young black boy's face, and then taking in the environment around her, that he is one of the only black faces in a sea of whiteness. And she, in that moment, in a position of authority, is suggesting that he use the color black to depict the negative thing that he's wanting to experience. And it, the discomfort in that moment stuck with her, and we talked about it later and kind of broke it down because, and he's just kind of looking at her again, just kind of like open and confused and curious, but you can see how in that moment that implicit or explicit, thank you, bias of what we may think of, oh yeah, well, we've learned in art and whatnot that black is bad and dark, and she had a moment of kind of breaking free of that with her own discomfort that she felt empathically from this young boy. And what, you can see how then those things may seem subtle, but how they can become internalized by this young child as these messages that you, as a black boy, then perhaps are somehow bad or wrong or negative. And then when we say things that like white is pure and light, how do we not, especially as a child with tending to have more literal, simplistic thinking as their brains develop, how do we not take that on in some way to mean something bigger? So There is a blog by Richard Watkins, and I'm going to share the link because he goes into some really great examples for us that suggest, he says, how about light as public and dark as private? Or light as work and dark as rest? Light as platonic and dark as romantic? Light as noise, dark as quiet? He goes on to say, letting go of the impulse to quantify light as good and dark as bad opens us up to rich possibility. It is possible to praise the light without disparaging the dark. Both are required. So let's break open and find more ways of rolling around in and delighting in the possibility of language. So again, I'm going to share this link through our social media, and maybe we'll put it in the newsletter this week too, because each of those examples he gives, he writes a whole paragraph about it. So if you're interested in this conversation and want to find more ways where we can start changing our language to open to new possibility, this is a great resource. So today I invite us to open our hearts and minds as we go on this journey of curiosity, to be open to new possibilities, to consider unlearning our fear of the dark and the idea that darkness or the color black represents bad or evil, in order to live from a more holistic perspective, this yin and yang nature of life where both light and dark are valid and necessary, where we can understand that we have different stages and seasons in our lives. And if we are willing to change our perspective and perhaps even our language, we can create a shift in our collective consciousness as well. So let us look at these qualities of darkness in order to deprogram our mind from this racist indoctrination of a society built on white supremacy. So first of all, as it is Mother's Day, again, shout out to all the mothers who brought us into this world, and to all the mother figures who nurture and love us. Hopefully you will find a little bit of me time today, or whatever it is you desire and what makes your heart sing and feel appreciated on this day. But we look at Mother's Day because if we go back to the beginning, we will see that darkness is where all life begins, in the womb, in the dark, fertile soil of Mother Earth. There is this field of pure potentiality. The darkness of the womb is a powerful space of creativity. It is life-giving, and it is absolutely necessary for life to exist. So if we choose to lean into those dark spaces as a place of nourishment and comfort, there is great opportunity and possibility to be gained. Finding balance between the go, go, go energy of the sun and the daylight and the quiet comfort under the dark moonlit sky. And our bodies naturally have a rhythm, right? Our circadian rhythm, whatever, you know what I mean. And we need words, whatever. We need this to rest, to replenish ourselves so that we can then go about the activities of our lives. So again, there's the contrast. Our bodies naturally tell us when it's time to slow down. I know for me, I crave the darkness. I just recently added 2 more layers of curtains in my bedroom, so they're super thick and absolutely no light gets in when I close them, and can feel that kind of cocoonness, creating that nice, dark, comforting, relaxing, nourishing, healing energy of the womb. So the opportunity is to look beyond the dualism of the good, the bad, the right, the wrong, dark, light, which is a kind of oversimplification of the very complex nature of our human existence and of our society. And to lean into and embrace the nuance, perhaps embracing not knowing or understanding it all. To embrace the mystery of the dark, the mystery and the magic of the dark, fertile ground in which we plant the seeds of intention for our lives and watch them grow. So I was curious, where did this idea come from that light is good and dark is bad? And I know that there are roots in many places, but one of them specifically is through religion, and particularly in our Christian religion and society that is the predominant, kind of conversation and religion here in the United States. And if you look at that, it teaches, right, that the body is bad and something to be, transcended, and the true life of our soul is good, right? Be in the world, but not of the world. And there's these ways that we see that the light is who we are, but this physical form is not who we are. And what that can do is then creates, again, this dichotomy. Instead of embracing, like I said last week, does it have to be that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, or human beings having a spiritual experience? Or can it be the both and? We are spiritual and divine. But these conversations that say that, even though I do believe it to be true that we are more than this physical body, and the soul of who we are is eternal, it doesn't mean that we have to disregard this human experience and make our body something bad or wrong or to be transcended. Because it is who we are. We are all in this body, living, breathing, and when we begin to embrace the wholeness and the allness of our humanness and our divinity, we can then transcend binary thinking and open to experience life more embodied in our body, in the fullness of life that we have as the opportunity to experience life in human form with all of the richness and the texture and the senses that we have to experience life. So, in various cultures and religion, it can equate light with the soul, with the sun, and with a more masculine understanding. And then the body is then equated with the womb and the darkness, the moon, and the more feminine. And then it makes one good and one bad. What message is that telling? And then you see in our stories and in our culture and our richly indoctrinated stories that then women, we start conjuring up images of women in their power as witches, brewing spells of darkness under the dark moon, right? And you can see how these all have these undertones of messages that become embedded in some way in our collective consciousness. These associations are so much a part of our culture that it's in our music and in our art, our stories, our language, and it could be hard to dislodge. And I'm not saying that we have to throw all that out, because that, again, would be making something wrong and something right. The invitation today really is to be aware first, just notice, these stories and these things, there is an impact. And to question within yourself, have I believed something? Have I made meaning about something, about my life or about others in my life because of these stories that I've been told? So first, just be aware with curiosity, not like, oh, again, the patriarchy so bad, right? So without judgment, that's the key, without judgment. Because what this is asking us to do is to let go of our judgment that light is good and our judgment that dark is bad. So we don't want to just flip the script and do the pendulum swing and then make the light bad. And you don't talk about the light as only being good, right? Because then it's still, our brains are just wired this way where we want to have the simple fit into boxes, good, bad, right, wrong. So again, notice that. As you hear something, then are you just swinging the pendulum the other way and wanting to throw it all out? How can we instead embrace and notice the stories and the culture and the things that we're being told from religion and all the things in the world? Notice it, but with some distance, so we are not embodying that as our truth. And then to open up to embracing a more holistic and a full-bodied perspective of how the light and dark work together. Each with their own qualities, not good or bad qualities, just different qualities. And letting go of the meaning that we make about the things that occur in our life. Because things happen, and they are what they are. When we release our judgment or our desire for things to be different, this frees us to experience life with more ease and flow, with more grace and with more opportunity for learning. It is what it is. The sun rises, the sun sets. We wake, we sleep. As the science of mind teaches us, there are these laws of the universe that work equally for everyone. Just as gravity does not say, I'm going to choose to hold Adam down on the planet today, but Heather can float, right? The laws just work. There are, the laws of the universe work the same for all. Spirit, universe does not play favorites. But we must understand how to work within this world of natural and spiritual laws without judging. Gravity can hold things down, and it can cause things to fall and crash. Do we judge gravity as good or bad? No, gravity just is. It's just a natural law. Similarly, fire can heat or burn. We need fire for cooking, for warmth. Fire in and of itself cannot be simplified to something that is good or bad, right? Electricity, same thing. It provides light or it can electrocute. But electricity in and of itself cannot be labeled as good or bad. It's all in our perspective, and it's all in our use, how we interact and choose to use these laws, natural laws of the world and spiritual laws of the universe. So if we believe that darkness equals fear, that is what we will experience in the dark. And boy, can our imagination get the best of us in the dark, right? Feeling and all of a sudden sensing things of danger that aren't even there. Believing in the monster under our bed because maybe someone jokingly teased us about it, or we saw a movie or read a book. And then our young little child self, that seed was planted in our minds, and the lights go out. Parents leave the room, and all of a sudden, our little minds and bodies get all worked up and freaked out about something that isn't even real or true. But it certainly feels real to that young child, right? So if we believe something is scary, we will experience it as scary. But if we can lean into releasing our judgments and just being present with what is, we can open up to a greater experience of life filled with new possibility and potentiality. So the invitation is for us to gain awareness, get curious about our inner beliefs. What do we believe about the dark? And perhaps there are some beliefs that we have that when we begin to look at from a new perspective, we can let go of. As Ernest Holmes says, change your thinking, change your life. And it is this practice of noticing our thoughts and our fears, listening to our body, and getting curious, is this my intuition, or is this my mind indoctrinated that this particular dark alley equals something scary, so I'm going to have that reaction? Or is it my intuition saying, go this way instead? It's so nuanced that it is something that we can only understand within ourselves, and it takes practice, like anything. So we turn to our spiritual practices like meditation, practicing the presence, mindfulness, listening to our body, self-awareness. These practices of sitting in the dark, of noticing our thoughts. Where does our mind go when given the space to simply wander? Does it go to worry and fear, doubt, anxiety? How can we simply notice that without judging it and then remind ourselves of the truth and come back to that centered perspective of wholeness? Because truly the darkness can provide the fertile ground for the growth that we desire. And it can help us when we're feeling lost, just as the light can guide us, if we trust in it and surrender to its message. We can appreciate the benefits of the dark and the stillness and the quiet of the womb, this gestation period for new ideas to be birthed, and where transformation occurs. The Divine Mother showing us the value of this fertile soil, this creative medium, this field of pure potentiality where new ideas and creativity emerge. Darkness nurtures life by providing a safe container of love in which new life can be born. So this week, I invite you to consider how to embrace, for you specifically in your life, what does it look like? How do you embrace this dark, fertile ground for growth, creativity, and new possibility in your life? Are you willing to let the dark be a comfort and yield insight and clarity? To let the dark be something to surrender to practice vulnerability instead of control, to invite in the stillness of the dark and let it nurture and sustain you for this next season of your life, remembering that you are the author of your own life. You get to tell your own story because the rest is still unwritten. So let us take that into prayer. Again, I love to start with the breath. As the breath immediately invites us to drop our awareness back into this physical body. So we start by noticing our breath. sitting with our breath. Noticing any sensations in the body. What are the physical sensations that are present right here, right now? Any itching, hot spots, cold spots, tingling, bubbling, swirling? What is present right here, right now in your body temple? And then moving, expanding our awareness into our emotional body. And just checking in with, how are you feeling right now? How are you feeling right now? Not when you woke up, when you turned on the live stream or walked at the door, but right now, with all that has occurred so far. Be present to the feelings that are emerging. And again, simply noticing and naming them without judgment. There are not good feelings or bad feelings. We simply feel because we are alive. And now we expand our awareness even more to our thoughts, our headspace, our mental awareness. What are we thinking about right now? Does our mind feel active? Does it feel still or calm? And one is not good and one is not bad. We take this opportunity to simply be, to notice, to practice awareness. And in just this short practice, we move into a fully embodied experience of life. As we know and recognize right here, right now, that there is one life. This energy, this field of pure potentiality, that is love, that is wholeness, that is creativity, that is the very essence and nature of each and every one of us. We are one of the same energy of love expressing itself uniquely in, as, and through each of us. We are one with this divine creative potential expressing itself uniquely as each and every one of us. We are whole, perfect, complete within and of ourselves. There is nothing outside that we must strive for, to get, to receive outside of us, to remember the truth of who we are, for we have everything we need and desire right here, right now, within the wholeness of our soul. So we take this moment to remember this truth, to surrender to lean into this dark, creative womb of our inner being, listening for what new possibility is seeking to emerge through us. What is the message that our soul has for us this day? That if we are willing to get quiet enough, still enough, to provide enough space for, we will hear that voice within that is guiding us to a new understanding, a new perspective, a new revelation, a new insight, our own personal aha So we welcome in the gifts of the dark. We surrender to the beauty of the stillness and the quiet. Knowing that everything has a time and a season. We do not stay in the dark forever, nor do we stay in the light forever. We embrace the wholeness, the allness of life, right here, right now. The mystery, the gifts, the blessing, living in the nuance, understanding of this thing called life. What is seeking to be known now? What is seeking to emerge through me as a greater understanding of who I am right here, right now, on this planet, at this time, in this body? What seeds are wanting to be nurtured in order to grow and expand into the fullness of this unique life that I get to live and that I choose to live consciously, awake and aware, living life to the fullness and living life out loud with all my heart, with all that I am. I get to be. I am free. Yes, just breathe into that truth, the freedom that is here now, the creative potential that is within you, that is emerging right here, right now, if we but nurture and tend to it, feeding it with the water and the fertile soil and the light, knowing that it takes it all. We nurture our heart and our soul, and we say yes. So grateful to be fully embodied, so grateful for this opportunity to be vulnerable, to surrender to the dark, and to see from a new perspective. So grateful for the fulfillment of this word that has been spoken right here, right now, and that goes into the universe that says, yes, 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 my beloved. It is already done. It is so, it is happening now. And so it is. So it is.